Everyday life's happening. Some days are more eventful. Others, living protected with insurance you can depend on changes your life for the better. We insure the people and things you care about. Not Agency. We'll help you find the right coverage so when life happens, you have the right insurance protection for your family and business. When life happens, live protected. Agency for all your insurance needs.
Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends on Tuesday, September the 13th. Pleasure to have you with us. We've got one interesting guy today. I always enjoy visiting with Jack Schultz. Good to have you here, Jack.
Hi, Paul.
MU Bond Life Science Center. He comes in and I said, what are we going to talk about today? Because no matter what topic we pick, it's interesting. But you said, let's talk about the eggs and climate change.
Right. Eggs are really interesting. You know, you think of eggs as just sort of sitting there they're not doing anything, but of course there's an embryo inside.
Right.
And embryos inside eggs are actually way more alert about what's going on around the egg than we thought. One really good example that's been known for a long time is that for most turtles, in fact most reptiles, all lizards and so forth, the sex of the animal is determined by the temperature of the egg. So for example, in sea turtles, the warmer the eggs are, the more likely they are, actually they will become females.
The warmer the eggs are in sea turtles.
In sea turtles, if the eggs are warm above a certain temperature, they'll all be female. If they're cooler than a particular temperature, they'll all be male. And there's a temperature right in the middle where they'll be partly male and partly female.
Now, what about the egg of the chicken?
Birds, I don't think, are subject to the same thing. Among other things, birds incubate their eggs. They sit on them.
Right.
And so they keep them at a nice constant temperature all the time.
Right.
But a sea turtle lays eggs in a hole in the sand. The ones at the bottom are in a cool sand, and the ones at the top are in the warm sand. So the ones on the top turn into females, and the ones on the bottom turn into males, irrespective of their genes.
Is that right?
So
it
they're
has
male.
Everything to do with the temperature.
Everything to do with the temperature, and what people think is that the enzymes in the animal that are responsible for making the hormones that really influence the sex of the animal, those enzymes are responsive to temperature, and they go on and off depending on whether it's warm or cold, and that determines whether you'll have a male or female.
So what you're saying is that the climate change, if we're heading into a warmer climate, we're going to end up having a whole lot more females.
Exactly. In fact, you can imagine that things could get to the point where you have only females, and that's the end of the line for those turtles.
So that could be one of the detrimental effects of climate change.
Now, it's not that they can't do anything about it. If you were I hate to imagine this, but if you were a female sea turtle, what you could do is dig your hole deeper.
So that it's cooler.
So it's cooler.
Does she realize that?
Yeah. She's paying attention to the temperature, yeah.
So she knows that if she digs it deeper,
right,
she has a better chance of producing a male.
Yeah, she's sensitive to the temperature. She's looking for an ideal temperature mix.
Now, you were telling me also about a particular bird that sings to the egg 5 days before it hatches, and that egg is listening to the mama's sound, and it talks back to her after it's born?
There are two stories, one of them very recent like that. The one we were talking about is it's called a fairy wren that lives in Australia. And over a 5-day period, mom sings a particular tone, like one note, to her eggs repeatedly during the day. And the chicks inside learn the note. When they come out, they can sing that note.
So they can, even though they are still developing,
right,
they are hearing mom with that note.
Right.
And they know that when they hatch, they have to sing that note back to mom?
Well, what they'll do is, you've probably seen pictures or actually seen, parent birds come to the nest to feed the chicks. They all open their mouths, okay, and they make noise. The noise has to contain that note, or mom won't feed the chicks.
Because she knows that those are her chicks.
Her chicks. And
if they make a different note, they're not her chicks.
That's right. And in fact, there are parasitic birds out there. The cuckoos are parasitic. They lay eggs in the nest and leave them behind. And when they hatch out, they don't know the They don't know the song. They don't know the call.
The code.
So
They don't
the
know
code.
the code. Yeah.
Right. In fact, she teaches Dad the code too, so that he and the chicks and she are all on the same wavelength, and it makes sure that both of them feed the chicks.
But then the ones that don't know the note don't get any food.
They don't get any
and they
food.
will die.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, there is just published, I think it was this week, last week, very recently, somebody showed that the song that zebra finches, which, by the way, are popular house pets, lots of people have zebra finches in their homes, female zebra finches sing a song to their eggs that is determined by the temperature she is experiencing. She has a hot song and she has a cool song. And when she sings the hot song to the eggs, the chicks that emerge are smaller and better adapted to hot temperatures.
And when she sings a cold song,
They come out bigger, and
they're
isn't that something?
that is.
Now-
Here, I got one other question
Yeah.
for you here because we don't have a lot of time left. How do the birds, when they're migrating, let's say the little birds that live here in the summertime, and then come fall and winter, they fly all the way down to South America. How do they know how to get there? How do they know where to stop along the way? And how do they make that long distance flight?
Well, let's start with leaving. They leave at a particular time of the year depending on the day length mostly. Okay, and of course that makes sense because as the days get shorter in the fall, they're running out of food. They use navigational tricks like the position of the sun, position of the moon, sometimes even the stars. They have a magnetic sense in their brain that helps them judge north and south. And there's recent evidence that they also use sounds on the ground to determine that they're going over a city and so forth.
They're navigating by the stars and the sun and the moon.
Right.
That's better than most humans can do.
Oh, yeah. Well, you and I aren't equipped to do that. I don't know that anybody knows how they know where to stop. They stop along the way based on whether the habitat looks like a good place to get something to eat. You know, it's a good, safe place because they have to refuel along the way.
How long does it take them?
Oh, weeks. It depends who it is. You know, there are terns that go all the way from the Arctic Circle to the Antarctic Circle. And some of them do
so
that.
they're flying right over our area.
Some of them do that. Yes, in fact, you can record that sound. You can hear them in the fall. If you go out at night, you'll hear flocks going over. They have a particular call that they
and they fly mainly at nighttime?
Mainly at night.
Okay. 20 seconds left. The swallow's coming back to Capistrano.
Yeah. Well, I think they sing the song. That's how that works. No, it's the same migration idea. They record.
But how do they know to go back to San Juan Capistrano?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
You have the answer for us next time you come?
Sure, okay. I'll look
Jack
that one up.
Schultz, you're interesting. There is no end to the information that you can pass on
It's
to
great
us.
fun.
From the MU Bond Life Science Center. It's always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Really. And people can come on tours, can't they?
Yeah, you can. Please stop by the center. We'll give you a tour, show you all the fabulous stuff going on.
Okay. Thank you, Jack.
My
Please
pleasure.
come back again. Tomorrow we've got the State Historical Society on with us. Our program directed by Travis McMillen, Reynolds Journalism Institute. Audio, Pat Akers, KBIA. Our flow director is Zach Sayer, and our assistant producer and guest coordinator, Uncle James Mouser.